Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Shadowproof Podcast. The Shadowproof Podcast, where we shine light on the hidden struggles that keep so many of us living in the dark. My name is Coach Jose, your favorite podcast host, and I'm honored to walk this journey with all of you. Thank you all for continuing to listen, liking, and all that. Here on the Shadowproof, we talk about real unspoken battles, totally uncut, the weight of silence, the mask we wear, and the path towards healing and freedom. That's what Shadowproof is to me. If this podcast speaks to you, please, I'd love for you to take a second, like, share, and subscribe. Remember, sharing this helps us reach more people, right? Helps me reach more people. Helps to touch people, and some people that may not even know they need to hear it. May not even know they need to hear these conversations, right? Sometimes it's hard to get to understand that. Also, you guys know, just a reminder, I'm a founder of Fortified Within Coaching, that platform I created to help people break cycles and build stronger lives. Through Fortified Within, I offer one-on-one coaching, group sessions, men's groups, create real safe space for growth and accountability. I'm not only doing a men's group, but I'm also doing group coaching. Sometimes it's easier, for people to create that camaraderie and hear from others, like-minded people. Like I said, space for growth and accountability. Matter of fact, this next month, I'm super excited. I'm launching a new men's group in October via Zoom. Contact me for more information. The safe space to connect, heal, and grow, right? Real talk, safe space, it's all a brotherhood, right? If you're interested in learning more, joining, please reach out to me directly at coachjose79@gmail.com. I'd love to explain more about it and get you locked in. Now let's get it started. What's today's topic? I know I'm a little late. We usually post, I usually like to get them out on Tuesdays. It's been a crazy week, but as promised, I'm always here. And I'm super excited about tonight's conversation, the cost of wearing masks. So let's think about that. When we talk about that, the cost of wearing masks, right? It's kind of like the hidden thing that we got, right? Roles we play to survive, to protect ourselves, or to hide, what we're really feeling. I read a book a couple of months ago. Actually, it's been quite some time now. Sean Hart is a great inspirational. He wrote a book called Broken Men, or Broken Boys Lead into Broken Men. I think that broken boys become broken men, and he talks about the masks in that. He breaks it down a little differently in there, but it makes a whole lot of sense, right? Because what we project to the world is not a reality, right? How many of us have cried in silence or thought about things that even though the world may think that, we're perfect or we're happy or we're good, we're straight, when internally we're really not, right? So I want to break that down, right? I want to break that down to you guys with a little bit of definition, right? A little bit of definition, a little bit of background behind that, and get on that, right? Because you guys know, like, my mission with the Shadowproof Podcast, and what I mean, what I talk about when we talk about the Shadowproof Podcast, is shining light on what's hidden, right? Breaking the silence, finding strength in truth, right? We're gonna break down the 6 most common masks, how they cost us in the long run, and how to start letting them go. And that's the key, right? We have to remember and keep in mind that we have to start somewhere, right? We have to take that first step, that first initiative. If we don't, we're going to be stuck in the same place, right? What's the definition of insanity? doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. And that's crazy. Like, why would we do that? Right? We sometimes put ourselves in situations or deal with things, and we're like, why isn't things changing? Well, you're doing the same thing every day. What are you doing? What are you doing differently? Right? How are you growing? Right? So let's get it done. Let's get it popping. I'm excited. Great time. We're gonna have a great time. We're gonna talk about some great topics, and let's get it popping. The mask we wear, right? The mask we wear. You got the first mask, right? The tough guy mask, right? The tough guy mask usually is correlated to the nothing bothers me, right? A front of strength, aggression, or indifference to high vulnerability, right? The almost like the biggest mouth in the room type of person. And this is not just subjective to men, right? I want to hone in on that. Like, I want the men to listen to this, because that's who I'm trying to touch, right? Because obviously I'm a man, and I could relate to a lot of this stuff. But it's important for the women to hear this about their men, and also women to hear this who fall into these categories, right? Because this affects everything. This affects us. This affects our relationships. It affects our jobs. It affects our careers, right? The tough guy mask, like I said, it's a front of strength, right? Deals with everything in aggression or an indifference to high vulnerability. What it looks like is like a person that's always using anger instead of sadness, never showing fear, right? The fearless person. In reality, there's a lot of pain inside that fearless person. There's a lot of vulnerability inside that, right? That cost of that is that person subconsciously pushes people away and blocks a real connection, right? Because he's afraid of that person. They're afraid of that person either learning their vulnerabilities, and they feel like that's a sign of weakness, or right, they're insecure about their vulnerabilities, right? Which is kind of the same thing when you break it down, but it's all a front, right? Because behind the scenes, behind closed doors, in the dark, they're real vulnerable people, real emotional people, right? And that's where they don't know how to. Well, they do know, they don't want to. It's a choice, right? We don't want to show that we're vulnerable. We don't want to show our weakness, right? So that's such a breakdown of the tough guy mask. Then you got the clown mask. It's the clown mask, class clown, right? The class clown. Think about that. The class clown, the one that's always using humor, always trying to be funny, always making jokes, right? The life of the party type person. They use that to deflect pain or avoid being taken seriously. Always joking around, never letting emotions really surface, like true, real emotions really surface. Everything's a joke. They turn negatives into jokes, and that's not a bad thing always, but the internal is where it kind of hurts, right? Because that person, people never, right? The cost of that is people miss the truth of their struggle. Right? They don't really know because they don't take them seriously, right? Because it's always like, because their personality is always joking, so they assume that everything's a joke. Next mask is you got the perfect achiever, right? The perfect achiever mask, chasing success or perfection to prove their worth, right? Overworking, always needing validation. Performance-driven life, right? There's a cost behind that, right? All the overworking, right? Need the validation, performance-driven, burnout. And even when they are validated, even when they are when they achieve what they think they're seeking, they still feel the emptiness, even when they win. Right? Even when they win, they still have an emptiness inside. One of the most typical, the I'm fine mask. I'm good. Right? I'm chilling. How are you doing today? I'm all right. Right? Pretending everything's okay no matter what. No matter what. Saying I'm good when you're not. Hiding the struggles. Right? Now you're isolating yourself. You're creating loneliness. You silent suffer. You're suffering deeply in silence. And you got the people pleaser mask. People pleaser. Wow, there's a lot of those, right? People pleaser mask. Putting other needs ahead of our own to gain acceptance or avoid rejection. That's a deep statement right there. Putting others' needs in front of themselves to avoid rejection. You guys heard me talk about a quote a couple weeks ago that in the book I read where the people pleaser is always the one that just always puts others' feelings and others' topics or other situations in the forefront because they don't want to deal with their own. And the people pleaser feels like if I do this, hopefully one day somebody could react to me in the same way, and that just never happens, right? Right? That person falls into an identity issue, right? They lose their identity. It creates resentment, right? Because they're never obtaining, they're never gaining back what they're giving, and it creates an exhaustion. They feel frustrated, right? They get frustrated. So you got that. There's a lot of fine tuning that needs to go into that. Last but not least, you got the provider mask. The provider mask. The provider mask is funny. Not funny. I don't mean to say it like that, but it defines self-worth only by what you can give or do or provide, right? So if I can't give you nothing, if this person can't give you anything, right? If they can't do anything or provide anything for you, they don't feel like they're worthy, right? They overtake responsibility. They neglect their own needs. They carry everybody else's weight. So if you look at that and the people pleaser mask, kind of similar in some aspects. But then the provider always complains about feeling used, unseen, or valued for what they produce, right? Now I want you to take a quick glance at all these masks. And it's not subjective to I just wear the tough guy mask or I just wear the people pleaser mask. Sometimes those cuts and scars run deep because remember the traumas could bring us down to wearing a little bit of multiple masks, depending on the situation, right? Depending on where we are at in our lives, what we're dealing with, what's being brought to the forefront, and what we're exposing, right? If you take a little bit of everything, a little bit of each one of these, I think I relate to a couple of these masks, right? I used to define my success based off other success. And when they failed, I felt like I wasn't doing my job, right? And at the same time, I wanted the gratitude for helping them, right? So when I say that, I say that when I say these things that, some of us could wear multiple masks or relate to multiple masks is because I'm talking from experience. When I was getting ready for this episode, I started, breaking down this whole, when I was, thinking about the top, when I brought the topic and I'm breaking down the topic, I'm like, wow, like I could take a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And I could say, you build Jose, right? You build Coach Jose, right? And listen, hey, I'm here to tell you, Coach Jose is on a daily basis, trying to improve himself, trying to be a better person, trying to understand my shadows, trying to face them and break them down. Right. And it only comes with working, right? It only comes with self-awareness, understanding those things, right? Understanding these parts of me, good and bad, and breaking them down and saying, you know what? I got to fix this. I got to be better. I can't react this way. And listen, I fall short. I fall short almost daily. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not better than I was yesterday. I strive for that. But the reality is I fall short daily. but I acknowledge I acknowledge my shortcomings, right? I acknowledge that these things about myself. And as I do these episodes, as I do, my one-on-ones or my men's groups or my group sessions, I realize a lot about myself that I could share that not a lot of others can admit to, right? And that's the step. That's the first step, is understanding and admitting to that process, admitting to that point that, hey, I really need to understand that I need to be better, right? I need to work on these things, right? The hidden cost of these masks is multiple, right? Takes an emotional toll, huge emotional toll, huge emotional toll. We live disconnected from our true self, because it gets to a point where we don't even really know who we are anymore, right? Think about if somebody would ask you today, who are you, who are you? Right? What's your 30-second commercial? I've been hearing this 30-second commercial thing a lot lately, and it's for something else, but what's your 30-second commercial about yourself? About who you are, who you truly are, right? What's your 30-second commercial, right? It's easy for us to blame others. It's easy for us to say, hey, I'm this way because of what others or what situations have done to me. But that's a choice, right? Because we're disconnecting ourselves from what we could be. Because sometimes when we disconnect ourselves from what we could be, it's because we never try to find who we can be or who we really are. How do I find that? Right? It's I talk to my son about this all the time. He's in college, and I'm like, you need to try different things to figure out who you are, right? What you want to be, right? What you want to do with your life, who you want to be who you want to be as a person, and what you want to leave behind. Like me, I'm to the point where I want to leave something behind where I could say, hey, I touched some people. I helped some people realize their struggles and understand that they're not here by themselves. Right. Right. The other part of that is the relationships told. And I'm not just talking about, relationships in the perspective of a couple or your partner. I'm talking about relationship, friends, everything, right? People love the mask, not the real you, because we're not showing the real you. You're not showing the real true self of you. You're not showing who you really are. And that's the question I want you to ask yourself. That's another question I want to ask yourself, right? The first question is, what's your 30-second commercial? Who are you? Right? The other part is why can't I show the real me? Why can't I show my vulnerabilities? Right? I ask these questions, weekly. I'm asking you guys questions, and I'm hoping that you guys are really understanding, like breaking that down and dissecting that to a point of trying to find who you really are, but not only trying to find who you really are, is why can't you be your true self? Right? What is it that's preventing you from being your true self? And sometimes it could be the fear of people may not like who you are. But I ask you this: if those people that you're surrounding yourselves are not going to like your true self, then are they worth being in your life? Right? If those people that you're around, if they're not going to like who you truly are, with your vulnerabilities, with your scars, then are they really your friends? Do they really love you? Because they don't love you. They love who they think you are, right? The person you're showing them, not your true self, right? I hear this a lot when I hear friends of mine say, whether they're having a relationship problem or a problem, and that people say, hey, you're not, how many people have heard, you're not the person I fell in love with. Well, what if the person you fell in love with wasn't my true self? Right? What if the person you became friends with wasn't who I really am? Right? Because if I'm showing you, think about that now. If I'm showing you a person that I'm really not, or maybe because I don't know who I am, right? Then you don't love me. You're not true friends with me because you're not true friends with my true self. Right? And then the mental health toll that this causes wearing these masks, right? It creates an isolation because, again, we're afraid to be vulnerable. We're afraid to talk about our insecurities. We're afraid to talk about our pain, right? We're afraid to talk about why we're depressed, right? Because there again, got to be strong, right? Right? We got to be strong. If we're not strong, we're weak. That's what society, that's what people tell us, right? If you're not strong, you're weak. Build the bridge and get over it. Stop being stop being this way. Stop being so soft. Man up. Be a woman. You don't need nobody. All you need is you. I tell you, that ain't true. You do need to believe in yourself, first and foremost. But we all need somebody to talk to, right? Because we can't break stuff down by ourselves, right? Again, you hear me talk about that a lot, is our tunnel vision, right? That tunnel vision of saying, damn, am I really this person, right? Am I really like tunnel vision is acting like these pains don't exist, right? This shame don't exist. This hurt, these scars, things that 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 we don't understand, that we can't, and this is why I say so much, we have to face those shadows. We cannot continue to live in the shadows of the past. The longer we hide in the shadows of these masks, the more disconnected we become from our freedom. I'm going to say that again. The longer we hide in the shadow of these masks, the more disconnected we become from freedom. What is freedom? Freedom to be ourselves, freedom to be vulnerable, freedom to understand who I truly am. Right? How can I do that? How can I know who my true self is? How can I be free if I don't? How can I be free if I can't? Right? How can I be free to that? Right? Can't blame others, right? You heard me talk about that in the last podcast. How can people help you if you don't talk about it? Right? I told you, I tell you all the time. I didn't know how to accept love. And sometimes I still don't. Sometimes I don't know what that looks like. And it could be staring me in the face. Right? Because I continuously feel like I see disappointment, continuously feel like I see just horrible things. And I'm just like, well, this is what it is, but it's not what it is, right? It's the people we choose to continue to keep in our lives. It's the people that we choose to continue to be around, the situations we choose to continue to put ourselves in, right? Because we feel like we don't deserve better, or we can't do no better because, again, we don't know who ourselves. We're afraid to lose, right? Don't let go of the bird in hand for the one that's flying. Another almost like remember you guys heard me talk about earlier in one of my early episodes, it's better to deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't. And I said, I hate that statement. I hate that phrase because I feel like, why should I deal with any devil? Well, that's simple. It's similar. I get that, right? You have a bird in hand, don't let it go, or don't lose it for one that's flying. But how do we know if the one we have in our hand, if we don't know who we truly are, how do we know that the bird we have in our hand is worth holding on to? Think about that now. How do we know that the bird we have in our hand is worth holding on to? That's some deep stuff to think about right there. That's a deep thought. Right? This is safe, but is it good for us? This is safe, but is it hurting us? This is safe, but is it really adding to my destruction? Is this a bad choice? Right? Because when you let that bird that's that you're trying to catch, that could be a positive thing. So it's something that the only way we find that out is really understanding who we truly are, to understand what we truly want or what we feel we deserve. Right? And again, I'm not sitting here saying that that's the case in all aspects, right? That statement holds weight, right? In certain situations, but it also doesn't in others, right? We got to break free, right? We got to break free from this, right? Vulnerability is the antidote to those masks, right? Vulnerability is the antidote to those masks. Being vulnerable, expressing your pain, expressing who you are, right? Talking about real life stuff, right? And allowing yourself to do something you haven't done before, which is really dig deep and say, hey, this is why, or this hurts me, or this is why I feel, this is what I'm thinking about right now. This is what I'm dealing with right now. And I don't know how to deal with it. Right? Real life stuff. That's like me telling you guys, not knowing how to accept love, which leads me into me not trusting anybody. Right? It's always holding that guard up, right? Holding that guard up. Holding that guard up because I'm hiding, because I'm prideful, because of my ego. Right? It's got to get to a point where we start to unpack these issues, unpack these masks, and understand. First is understanding what categories we fall into. And it's okay to fall into all of them, right? It's okay. I'm not saying don't subject yourself to one if it's not one, right? It's understanding that, and how do we get to that? How do we understand that? And understanding who we are is dissecting ourselves, right? Understanding the masks. It's getting to a place where we are empowered. We empower ourselves to express who we really are without fear. Right? Without fear of being judged, without fear of being feeling like we have no choice but to reach for that mask or one of those masks and put it back on. Right? So I go back to that one situation or that one example that I give you of me not understanding. And it took me a very long time to come to this conclusion, right? A very long time to sit back and take a good look at myself in the mirror and say, damn, dude, you really don't know how to receive love. You can acknowledge it if it was staring you in your face. And I'm not saying I never felt it. I'm not saying I never, but it was foreign to me, right? It was, what is this? What are you doing? What do you want from me? Right? Because I felt like all my life, everybody always wanted something from me. Right? It's never pick up the phone, let me see how Jose's doing. It's a pick up the phone and tell Jose what he's not doing. right? It's a pick up the phone and be like, oh, you fell short of this, or you didn't do this, or I need this, or I need that. That's what I felt like. That's all I heard, right? That's what I felt like all I heard most of my life. And then I asked myself, like, damn, like what is it? How about let's start off with how you doing? I've made it a point nowadays to start from that perspective, right? In every conversation, right? How are you doing today? How's everything going with you? Right? Most people say the same thing we all do, right? I'm good. I'm fine, right? The I'm fine mask. I'm fine. I'm good, right? Or I'm too busy, right? I'm too busy, right? So what do I mean by that? A lot of people around me, not everyone, but a lot of people around me know what I do, know what I'm doing now, the path I'm taking, the trying to bring this to the forefront, right? Trying to bring this to the forefront of people that really need to hear it and really need to just express those vulnerabilities, right? And then when I'm like, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? It's, I don't have time. I can't. I'm not, I got too much on my plate. Let me ask you this, and this is not subjective. I want to make this very clear because I know a lot of my friends listen to this. It's not about coming to me. You don't got to come to me. It's about taking that first step to go talk to somebody, though. Because the reality is there's not one person, not one of my friends, that can say they good and legitimately mean that, because that's not factual, right? And it's not subjective about coming to me. You don't have to come to me, right? But taking that first step and stopping to make, right? That's where we're at when we're talking about masks, right? People pleaser, putting others' needs ahead of our own, right? Because we're afraid of what people are gonna say, or the I'm fine, pretending everything's okay no matter what, right? Right? Or the tough guy. I got strength. I don't need nobody to help me. So I'm gonna just keep pushing people away. And we're gonna continue to do that because I don't got time for that right now. I'm working, my girl, my wife, my this, my that. I ain't got the money. It kills me. It kills me. It just kills me how we don't. And listen, I want to be clear. Like, I do this too. Like, I've done this. We make every excuse not to invest in ourselves. We make every excuse not to do something for us. I tried to stop that now. Like, I don't make excuses no more. Like, if it's something that makes sense and I need, I'm gonna do it, right? Because I got to think of me first. You should always think of you first. I'm not saying take. I'm not saying go overindulge. I'm saying, where's your self-awareness? Where's your self-worth? Right? Know the price, know the cost of everything, but know the value of nothing. Right? And sometimes it just takes talking to somebody. I'm not even saying go get a mental health coach, go to a therapist, go join a men's group, women's group, whatever. I'm not even saying you got to do that. I'm saying talking to somebody, but you got to start somewhere, because we can't do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. Right? It's like a tire, right? A wheel, right? A wheel just rolls, right? That's it. Just keep going and going and going. And nothing changes for that wheel except it starts wearing down. That wheel just wears down. The more it rolls, the more it's active, the more it wears down. Eventually it wears down to nothing. And then what happens when it wears down to nothing? It's replaced. Think about that now. Think about what I just said. The wheel rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls until it wears down to nothing, and then it's replaced. How many of you felt like that before? Where you've worn yourself down to nothing for everything and everyone, and then you're replaced. That simple. That simple. And in all of that, never taking the time out for yourself to rest. Never taking your time out for yourself to check on yourself, to do a mental check-in. Go for a walk. Enjoy the moment. Because we're always running around busy doing something. It's a mask. We talked about it. Overachiever. Right? Hiding behind things. Hiding behind being busy. Right? How do we start doing this? Right? Self-awareness. Name the mask you wear most. Break down the mask. Name the mask you wear most. Share your truth with a trusted person. Coach, friend, brother, somebody. Share your truth. Safe honesty. And then start to reframe your strength. Strength is authenticity, not performance. I'll say that for you again. Strength is being authentic. It's authenticity. It's not performance. That's some deep stuff to think about right there. Then what most of you don't know how to do, most of us don't know how to do sometimes, is boundaries. Setting boundaries. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Mostly this is more for the people pleaser and the provider mask. But boundaries is universal. Hey, I need an hour to go talk to a friend, talk to my coach, be in this men's group, be in this, take a walk. I need an hour for me right now. Just to realign myself, set those boundaries, stop saying yes. And then that's when you start building acceptance to who you are without the mask. And acceptance in who you are without the mask is enough. And that's difficult. I'm still working on that. Who am I without the mask, and am I enough without the mask? Am I still going to be respected? Am I still going to be loved the way I am? Or the way I think I am? Let me rephrase that. Am I still going to be loved the way I think I'm loved? Right? Do people like that toxic guy? Do people like that crash out guy that's willing to do whatever? Right? Are people still gonna be my friend? Are people still gonna be my quote unquote brother? Are people still gonna love me when I don't feel like wearing that mask anymore and just be myself? That's real right there. That's real. That's deep. And that's something deep. That's some deep stuff to think about. And that's where you have to build that acceptance and know that you're enough. Right? You're going to be enough, but you're going to be enough for the right people, for the right person. You may not be enough for people that's in your life right now. And that's okay. I'm here to tell you that is okay. But you're going to be enough for the right people. And that right there is something that is deep to think about, because remember, human nature is we're resistant to change, right? We're resistant to change, right? We're holding the bird in hand. Here we go, right? We holding the bird in hand, right? We don't want to let it go because it's safe, right? It's like Sean Hart breaks down some of these masks. One of them I remember distinctly is the lion mask, right? It's similar to the tough guy mask, right? The lion sits back with pride and pride and it disguises itself with, and possessions, pride and possessions, right? But think about the lion though, right? Think about that. They talk about the lion being the king of the jungle and the baddest mofo out there, right? Nobody, the lion's untouchable, right? But the lion wears the burden of having to wait, right? That crown comes with a cost. Because you can't slip up. You got to always be that guy. You always got to be the most feared. You got to be the tough guy in any situation. You can't sleep because people always trying to come get that crown. Other animals are in the jungle trying to prove that you're not the guy you seem. You not that guy. You not that person. So I'm just gonna keep coming. And he has to bear that burden. Because from a cub, he was taught, you gonna be king. And you gotta walk like a king. You gotta walk it, talk it, feel it, live it. No matter what, no matter how you're feeling, no matter how hurt you are, whether it's hurt physically, emotionally, mentally, it don't matter. You're a king and you gotta wear that and you gotta stand on that. Think about the burden. And that's why that mask, when I read that chapter in that book, stood out so much to me, because I felt that burden before. I gotta be this guy. I can't be nobody else. This is what's expected of everyone from me. And I didn't realize that the reality is not everybody expected that from me. Not everybody expected that or needed that from me. And not only that, not everyone not only not needed that from me, didn't need that from me all the time, or didn't expect that from me all the time. But again, building that acceptance. Are you still gonna love me if I'm not that guy? Are you still gonna be my friend, my brother, if I'm not that guy? Right? Correlate that to the lion. If he's not that guy, he's still gonna be respected and feared the way he is? Is he still gonna be that guy? Is he still gonna be loved? Is he still gonna be looked up to? Is he still gonna be looked at like the king of the jungle? Some deep stuff right there, ladies and gentlemen. Deep stuff right there. Think about that stuff. Awareness, name the mask you wear most. Share that truth, safe honesty, share your truth with a trusted person. Reframe the strength. Strength is authenticity, not performance. Setting boundaries, learn to say no and stop saying yes. And setting boundaries to things that you want to do, and setting time out for yourself, investing in yourself. And then the acceptance part, that you are enough without any of those masks. You're just going to be enough for the right people. I want you to think about that. But you got to start. Can't come home and do the same thing every day. Can't get up in the morning and do the same thing every day. Can't. You got to switch it up. Can't become codependent on others. Because then that's a whole nother topic. Codependency. Not going to get into that tonight, but that's another thing. We get into that. The 6 masks, their hidden costs, and the freedom of authenticity, right? The mask may protect you, but it also prevents you from being fully seen and loved. Right? Think about that, right? As we close tonight, I want you to think about that. The mask that you think is protecting you from the hurt, the pain, the vulnerability, all that stuff. But it's also preventing you from being fully seen and loved. And I hear that all the time. What is it you want from people? I ask. I want to be seen. In order to be seen, you got to take that mask off. In order to be seen, you got to reveal your true self. In order to be seen, you gotta accept that you're gonna be enough. In order to be seen. Think about that. I want you guys to think about these things tonight. Reflect on which mask you've worn most or you wear most? And where are we? Who are we? Right? Think about these things, dissect them, and learn to get to that point of acceptance. Right? Next time, maybe we'll talk about what real freedom looks like once you stepped out of that mask and into your truth. A little teaser for you. All right, I ain't even gonna repeat that. You guys gonna have to rewind that one. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Thank you for being patient with me. I know I always say I want to come out, Tuesdays, 5, 6 p.m. I appreciate you guys always listening. Thank you. Smash that like button, share, subscribe. Please, please share this with as many people as you know. I want to get this episode as many views as possible. Subscribe. The more subscriptions, the more likes, the more this gets out there, and the more we can build this Shadowproof army and get this out there and get everybody help, get everybody to a better place. And that's my goal with this podcast. Thank you guys again. Appreciate you wholeheartedly. Thank you. Truly humbled by all of my listeners and all the feedback I get from all of you. I appreciate it. Leave a comment, smash the like button, and subscribe. Thank you all, and I want you all to have a great, great night.